As some of you may have heard, there was an incident last night. One of your recent graduates here was killed. In the meantime, we need you all to be on the lookout for any suspicious activity.
You guys just moved in, huh?
How do you know?
I live next door to you. What happened there? Some kids from school? I'll help you. But you're a girl. I'm a lot stronger than you think I am.
Can you hear me through the wall?
Only sometimes.
We found another body a few days ago. Victim completely drained of blood. Please don't see that boy again.
Where's your dad? He pissed on my dad. Hey! What was that? What was going on?
Hello?
What are you, really? I need blood to live.
Hey there. You okay?
Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch for Matt Reeves' 2010 horror film, Let Me In. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
You let the right one in. It's me.
Oh, thanks. You're not going to start bleeding blood from your forehead.
Nope. Because you invited me on the podcast.
Did I? I just said you're here, so...
Well,
I guess I invited you, and that's why you're here, so...
Yeah.
Alright. Please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about plot, themes, and ending of the film, so if you haven't watched it, come back later. This one, I found on ABC iView. ABC iView is the only place to watch it.
This one I rented because I didn't want to deal with the shittier resolution.
It's fine, it's
everything.
just the ABC logo on the bottom right corner.
Yeah, no.
It's fine.
I paid my $5.95 for whatever the hell it was.
Alright, let's talk about Let Me In. Directed by Matt Reeves, screenplay by Matt Reeves, based on Let the Right One In by John Ajvide Lindqvist, starring Kodi Smit-McPhee, Chloë Grace Moretz, Elias Koteas, and Richard Jenkins. Owen leads a lonely life and is bullied by his peers at school. He happily befriends Abby, his new helpful neighbour, without being aware that she is hiding a secret from him. Of course, this is kind of a English adaptation of the 2007 movie Let the Right One In, which is a Swedish film. But Dylan, what did you know of that whole thing and whole situation, and what did you think of Let Me In?
I watched Let the Right One In originally because I think they talked about it at the movies or something like that. I feel like maybe that's where I saw it. So I watched it when it came out.
I definitely remember hearing about Let the Right One In before.
It was pretty, yeah, it was one of those big enough movies that I think got enough buzz about it, to the point that they obviously quickly, it's a 2-year turnaround, I think, or something like that. So, I remember when they announced the remake, I was like, and to a degree, I feel like it's the right reaction to have, because it's not like the best track record. It's like, why do this sort of thing? But I'll say from the outset, I think this is a good movie. I don't think this is a terrible remake. To a degree, I feel like it's unnecessary, but it's a good movie on its own accord. If you can't handle watching or reading subtitles, I guess. But yeah, Matt Reeves, this is sort of his different change of direction because he'd only done one thing prior to this, I guess.
He'd done Cloverfield, and before that, he'd done The Pallbearer, which was a comedy starring David Schwimmer.
Yeah, that's the one thing of his I guess I haven't watched. So and I'm not in a rush to. So, but yeah, I feel like
he also was a writer on Under Siege 2: Dark Territory.
Oh, there you go. I feel like this because Cloverfield's such a weird, obviously the home video self film thing. This is hey, I can do this, and then I from reading between the lines and interviews and stuff, it was always this movie that sort of helped him get onto Apes. So that leads us to Batman. So, which is why we're watching this, Batman. Yeah, I think this is a good remake. I think the problem that a lot of people have is that it does lose out or change some things from the book which were in the original adaptation, because the author wrote the screenplay and like obviously made sure some things in there, which like the most notable thing was that I can't remember the character's name, but what's Chloë Grace Moretz's character? Abby. So Abby in the original is like more of this sort of, like, what do you call it, androgynous character?
Androgynous,
I guess.
yeah.
And there's a backstory where they explain that when I don't know what the original character name was or whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's in a different language. That character was turned into a vampire, and they sort of tease it, I guess, in this, but they don't do it or whatever. But that character was mutilated, I guess is the best way to explain it, like in the genitalia area. So there's like a lot more of a fucked up backstory to that character in that version. So
I could see why that was cut.
Yeah, there's some little things like that, I guess, which I don't feel like ruins this movie, but for people who go, why like argue that the original's better, it's more or less that whole, why did you take out like a big thing that's in the book, which is whatever. But yeah, this movie I think is good. I think it keeps like the most important stuff, which is the this whole like dynamic between this father figure and then discovering that more or less this father figure is actually not her father, and more or less this father figure character is actually just Owen, or what Owen will be in like fucking 50 years from now by the time you get to the end of the movie. I think all the kills are like really, I like the way they're shot. There are these, like, especially that one in the tunnel, like this whole time just seeing the little girl, all of a sudden she goes ballistic fucking flash mode, like jumping around like crazy. Like I like this version of vampire where it's this, she just goes full feral. Like it's not slow, it's feral. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think they're all like sort of very visceral kills, and that's exciting. Kodi Smit-McPhee is great in this as a kid. Chloë Grace Moretz is great in this. Like all the kids are great. The one kid I didn't realize was in this, because I haven't watched this since it came out, was Dylan Minnette, how we say it, who's a fucking prick in this. But yeah, I don't think when I watched this for the first time, I don't know if I knew who the other kids were or whatever, but I never pieced together that he was in this. And yeah, fuck, he's an asshole in this, eh? Yeah, I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, he was the one I noticed as well. Like, wow, he's so young. It's like, and he's kind of gone on to bigger things, like in a lot of stuff. It's kind of interesting. We didn't exactly plan this. We obviously planned this around it being a Matt Reeves thing, because obviously the Batman's about to come out. But it's crazy that obviously this is Kodi Smit-McPhee in this, and he could potentially be about to be an Oscar winner. 10 years after this, almost a decade after.
I don't think he's going to win, but he's at least nominated, which is
well, yeah.
He could be in an Oscar-winning movie.
I know. I think he's the forerunner. I haven't checked the numbers lately. Yeah, I obviously am not a huge horror fan, but I really like this. I think it's very, like you said, the style of the vampires and of Abby just being very feral and like taking out these people in like a very visceral way when you watch it was quite interesting. It's definitely got its own distinct look. Some of the CG is not great, like when she's jumping up the tree or whatever. That doesn't.
I think the tree's the worst part.
I think
because it's lighter, whereas the tunnel is darker.
Yeah, I'd be interested that maybe it's just that her sped up is what they've done rather than CG. It's like they've done her climbing up the, like, roped her so it looks like she's climbing up the tree and just... Or
just like a stunt woman.
Or somebody and like sped it up. But yeah, I think the relationship between Owen and Abby is really interesting, and like him just obviously being a loner and like not having any friends and like kind of coming to form this relationship, and then seeing the fucked up cycle of like Richard Jenkins' version being the person who's been in love with this vampire since they were both kids as well. It's like, it's a messed up idea to throw out there, but also quite amusing when you think about what we do in the shadows, and probably that was influenced by this, and like You see see the servants and like people who work for the vampires like work for them for years. Not necessarily because they love them or not, but yeah. You know. And you know, we've talked about other things about kids being stuck at the same age forever. It's like kind of sad and fucked up and like because that was in the sub story in Eternals and that kind of thing. So, yeah, very.
Also, Elias Koteas is in this. I've watched him twice this week, the past.
Yeah, what?
This and Crash.
Ah, yeah, Crash, the 1996 film. You check out Dylan's review. I just want to call. Yeah, he's solid as like this detective who's kind of trying to deal with this situation. I think the film starts an interesting way, obviously, with that jump back in time and like starting with Richard Jenkins. Not that you know it's Richard Jenkins, but Richard Jenkins jumping out of a hospital window to his death. I mean, even the scenes where he's trying to collect the blood and stuff is like super tense, and like I was surprised by how tense some of the stuff in this movie is. Like,
I think the scariest scene in the movie, it's funny because it's nothing to do with the vampires. The vampire. The scariest scene in the movie is just him in that car when they go to the gas station and all that sort of shit. Like, that's the tensest the movie gets, I feel.
Yeah, that's pretty... I mean, there's lots of, like, weird tense scenes. Like, obviously you've got Elias, like, about to go into the bathroom and, like, the music's building up, like, super high and, like, that kind of thing. And then anytime Owen gets picked on by the bullies is, like, super intense, especially...
Well, that one near the end with the pool, I'm like, they're just going to kill him, so...
Yeah, definitely. That's what it seemed like. It's like... yeah, I mean... To be fair, he kind of deserved to be punished that last time after he, like, pretty much split that kid's head open. I don't know how he did that, because I think it would just do, like...
He split his ear open.
Seems like it would do blunt damage rather than, like, sharp damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that he does that and the teacher runs away because they just so happen to find a dead body.
Yeah, well, the teacher knows he deserved it, so...
He does know he deserved it. But even that, it's like you see Dylan Minette's character get bullied by, like, I guess his older brother or somebody, and like it's just
it's his older brother.
It's just a case of the cycle being repeated, which is
which is the whole movie.
The whole movie,
about the cycle being repeated.
Yeah, lots of interesting things, and like I said, the tension makes me super excited because obviously Matt Reeves is about to do the Batman, and I don't think. This shows me more about Reeves than either of the Planet of the Apes films that he did. Like, the potential of what he could do with the Batman, it gets me even more excited, I think.
Yeah. I feel like between this and the Apes, he has such a good, like, sort of back history of being able to do a wide variety of casts, like really good character work, action scenes, dark, sinister stuff, like, you know, lighthearted stuff. Like, the reason I was always happy when he was announced as director is I just feel like, even though he doesn't have a ton of movies under his belt, I feel like he's just been on a bunch of, you know, home run. So
yeah, absolutely. Another fucked up scene is obviously she attacks the woman that Owen's been spying on this entire movie. Creep. And then she turns into a vampire at the hospital, starts drinking her own blood. The nurse opens the window and she bursts into flames, setting the nurse on fire as well.
The whole room catches on fire.
I think that's the most intense vampire catching on fire I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, but yeah. It's a good scene though, like they're just sitting out there talking or whatever, and then she just doesn't, for whatever reason, walks past, doesn't even try to look to see what her patient is doing while she's rolled over, just opening blinds. But you know what's going to happen, so she just walks towards those blinds. But they need to show you that, I guess, because it's the whole like, oh, what are the rules for this film's version of vampires? Like, because without that scene, the end scene doesn't have the tension, because you're like, okay, does sunlight hurt these vampires or no? Like, what's the rules?
Yeah.
They're like, that's what happened to her. That's how quickly the vampire will explode and die in sunlight. So then when you get to the end and Elias is sneaking around, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
She gonna die.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like how it concludes with, obviously, you get that scene with, he kind of just accepts her and, like, lets her, closes the door and lets her eat that man. And then, she thinks she's going to leave him and, like, let him live a normal life. And then she comes back and saves him. Decapitating one of the boys, I think. Is that what happened? I'm not seeing things. It's hard to tell because it was very bloody. And then they run away with each other while she's in a crate in a trunk.
Yeah, someone
practicing their Morse code.
Yeah, if you look it up, the Morse code's like hello, or like she says hello and then he says something back. Like it's nothing crazy. It's just like hello, how are you, or something.
It has to be very simple.
Yeah,
but yeah, very.
For the kid actors to remember to do it correctly, I guess.
Well, yeah, I bet you if it was like this long thing. I mean, I think other people would notice that on the train probably. But yeah, surprisingly sweet movie, even though it's got like a fucked up exterior. Anything else you want to talk about from Let the Right One? Let Me In.
No, I think so. I think it's I think Richard Jenkins' performance in this is often not. I think is
not
sort of an underrated part of it.
I mean, that scene where I did clue in like pretty early, like, it wasn't like when he sees the photo. I'm like, as soon as he touched his arm, it's like, okay. And I feel like I had a good idea of where the story was going most of the way.
There's actually a picture of him, I think, at some stage there. I don't know if I would have, maybe I caught it this time, but there's actually a picture at some stage. It's very much like her with a kid. So once you've seen the movie for the first time and it's like in his keepsakes, it's very much implied that that's like him and her, from years prior sort of thing. Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely looking forward to more Matt Reeves stuff. So yeah, let us know what you thought of Let the Right One. Of Let Me In, or I guess Let the Right One In, if you've watched that as well. Which one's better? Let us know at ExplosionPod on Twitter, or you can go to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter to find both of our Twitter handles, or you can jump into Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or leave us 5 stars or anywhere that lets you leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you like this episode, thought it was worth $1, head over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Maybe you got something you want to tell me?
Do you think there's such a thing as evil?